Cold billionaire CEO Adrian Blackwood shocked the entire world when he suddenly married his nanny's daughter. But no one knew he didn't do it for love. He did it to bury a secret powerful enough to destroy his empire. Cameras flashed as he stood emotionless beside Lena Parker, the poor girl who once ran barefoot through his mansion halls while her mother cleaned his floors, but now stood as his wife. The world saw a fairy tale, but behind Adrian's icy eyes was fear, and behind Lena's soft smile was confusion, because this cold billionaire CEO didn't just marry the nanny's daughter. He married her to protect something dark from his past. A secret only her mother knew, a truth hidden for 15 years, a lie strong enough to ruin bloodlines, fortunes, and lives. But what exactly is this secret? Why did the cold billionaire choose her? And what will happen when the nanny's daughter finally discovers the truth behind her marriage? They called him the Ice King. Adrian Blackwood stepped out of his custom-armored Bentley as cameras exploded in white flashes. Reporters screamed his name like he was royalty. His net worth sat comfortably at $12.4 billion. Tech, real estate, oil, private jets, 3 mansions across continents, a private island no one was allowed to visit. Yet his face showed nothing. Mr. Blackwood, is it true you married your nanny's daughter? Are you ashamed of her background? Was it love or pity? He didn't answer. His bodyguards cleared the path as he walked into Blackwood Holdings Tower, a 70-floor glass monument built in his name. Inside, executives stiffened. Even men with gray hair feared his footsteps. Board meeting in 5 minutes. His assistant whispered, "Cancel." Adrian said coldly, "Tell them I've made my decision." She swallowed. About the layoffs. Yes. Doors closed behind him. Silenced out, his fingers brushed his watch hold. Scratched, cheap compared to his lifestyle. A strange contrast for a billionaire. Engraved behind it were words he never removed. Protect the truth. Foreshadowing sat heavy in the air. Why would the richest man in the city cling to something so worn? Flashbacks slid in without permission. 14-year-old Adrian stood beside his father's hospital bed. The room smelled like medicine and regret. "Come closer," Henry Blackwood whispered. Adrian leaned in. "Never love anyone," his father said. "Love makes men weak. Weak men lose everything." Adrian's eyes burned. "I love you, Dad." Henry smiled faintly. "Don't." 3 days later, Henry was dead. Another flashback followed, faster. Lawyers shouting. Relatives fighting over inheritance. His mother crying. People he thought loved him arguing over money like vultures. Adrian hid behind a curtain, shaking. Then a warm hand held his. "Martha Parker. I've got you," she whispered. "Always." She smelled like soap, and home. Back to present. Adrian's jaw tightened. He pushed the memory away. Love was a trap. His father had taught him that. Across town, Martha Parker scrubbed marble floors in the same mansion she had worked in for 20 years. Her back hurt. Her hands were rough. Her eyes, however, held secrets heavier than gold. Her daughter, Lena, leaned against the doorway. You raised him more than his own parents," Lena said quietly. "Why do you still serve him?" Martha paused. Her eyes drifted toward the west wing, the locked door nobody used. "Because," she whispered, "some promises don't expire." Lena noticed her mother's hands shaking. Foreshadowing. Lena was beautiful, but modest. College graduate. Architecture intern. She dressed simply, unaware she was about to step into a storm of billion-dollar lies. Back at the tower, Adrian stared out at the city he owned. His phone vibrated. Unknown number. He didn't answer. A text came in. "We know what your father did." His blood ran cold. For the first time in years, fear touched the Ice King. Lena Parker didn't belong in luxury spaces. Yet she walked through them like someone who once did. Her flat shoes echoed softly across the marble floors of Blackwood Holdings as she clutched a rolled blueprint under her arm. She had just graduated top of her class. But instead of champagne celebrations, she came here every morning. Determined to prove she wasn't just the maid's daughter, she stopped before the towering glass doors of the architecture department, inhaled deeply, and stepped in. "Good morning," she said softly. No one replied. Most people pretended not to hear her. Some looked up briefly, eyes sliding over her simple clothes before returning to their screens. She was invisible here, but she was used to that. Growing up in the servants' quarters had taught her how to exist quietly. Her phone buzzed. A message from her mother. "Did you eat? Don't skip breakfast." Lena smiled sadly. Her mother still worried like she was 10. Flashback slipped in young Lena sitting on the cold kitchen floor, doing homework while her mother scrubbed dishes. Martha's hands were red from soap. "Mom, why don't you rest?" Little Lena asked out. Martha smiled. "Because someone has to keep the lights on." That was the day Lena promised herself she would rise above this life. Back to present. She reached her desk when suddenly a deep voice cut through the air. "You, what is that?" She froze. Adrian Blackwood stood a few feet away, eyes sharp, tailored suit screaming power. Everyone nearby stiffened. No one spoke when he was around. Lena swallowed. "My design draft, sir." He snatched it without warning, scanned it quickly, then frowned. "This angle is wrong. You'd collapse the structure." Her heart dropped. "No, sir. The support beams you're arguing." He interrupted coldly. People nearby held their breath. "I'm explaining," she said softly, then caught herself. Respectfully. He studied her face longer than necessary. Something about her eyes felt familiar, but he brushed it off. "We do it." She nodded. "Yes, sir." As he turned to leave, her elbow hit a coffee cup. It spilled directly onto his laptop. Time stop. Gasps. Her face went pale. "I'm so sorry. I'll replace it." "You're fired." He snapped without thinking. Tears welled up in her eyes. "Sir, please." Footsteps hurried in. "Adrian." A woman's voice cried. Martha Parker rushed forward, panic on her face. "She's my daughter." Adrian froze. That voice. That face. Flashback hit hard. Young Adrian hiding under the staircase as his parents screamed at each other. A gentle hand pulling him out. Martha holding him close. "I'm here. I won't let anyone hurt you." Double quotes present. His jaw tightened. He looked at Lena again, then at Martha. "She can stay," he said finally. Shock rippled through the office. Martha exhaled shakily. "Thank you, sir." Lena stared at him, confused. "Thank you." He walked away without another word, but something inside him felt disturbed. Foreshadowing lingered. That night, Adrian sat alone in his penthouse, staring at the city lights. His phone buzzed again, and no number. Tick-tock, Ice King. He dropped the phone. Elsewhere, Martha sat on her bed, clutching her chest. "God," she whispered. "Please don't let the past come back." Lena stood by the door. "Mom, what past?" Martha forced a smile. "Nothing, my dear. Go to sleep." But her eyes were full of fear. The mansion felt different to Lena now. Not because it was grand as she had grown up here, but because she was no longer just passing through quietly. She was married to the man who owned it. Yet the walls still whispered the same old memories. Servants bowed. Staff avoided eye contact. The chandeliers glowed like frozen suns. Wealth hung in the air like perfume. Adrian walked ahead of her, hands in his pockets, silence trailing him like a shadow. "Do you always walk this fast?" Lena finally asked, trying to keep up. He didn't slow down. "I'm used to moving alone." She bit her lip. "We're married now." He stopped abruptly. She almost crashed into him. He turned, ice cold but tired. "This changes nothing. We live our lives separately. You'll have your wing. I'll have mine. Then why marry me?" She blurted. He stared at her for a second too long. Because it was necessary. Necessary. That word cut deeper than any insult. Flashback slipped in little. Lena watching her mother bow politely to Adrian's parents while they barely acknowledged her existence. She remembered thinking one day, "I won't bow to anyone." Now she was married into the same house. Foreshadowing hummed. They reached her room. It was luxurious. Bigger than her childhood apartment. "This is yours," Adrian said. She touched the silk curtains carefully. "It's beautiful. You'll have a monthly allowance. Anything you need, ask my assistant." "Do you think money replaces kindness?" she asked softly. He stiffened. Flashback. Henry Blackwood's voice in the hospital. "Love makes men weak." Present. Adrian's single quotes as Joe tightened. "Money solves problems." She looked at him. "Not all." Double quotes silence. He left. Later that night, Lena wandered the hallway, unable to sleep. The mansion was too quiet. She passed the west wing, the locked door she remembered from childhood. Her hand hovered near the handle. Flashback. 7-year old Lena sneaking inside. A dark room. A red-stained rug. Her mother rushing in, face pale. "Never come here again," Martha whispered. Some truths destroy lives. Double quotes present. Lena stepped back, heart racing. Foreshadowing tightened. Downstairs, Adrian poured himself whiskey. He hadn't touched alcohol in years. His phone buzz. And no number again. Your nanny will die with your secret unless you act. His hand shook. He dialed. Who are you? He demanded. Laughter on the other end. Someone who knows your father wasn't the man the world thinks. Click. The line went dead. Adrian slammed the glass down. At the servants' quarters, Martha knelt beside her bed, praying. Lord, she whispered, forgive me. I protected a child who grew into a man carrying blood on his name. Flashback. Henry Blackwood standing over a woman at the top of the stairs. The woman pregnant, crying. Martha frozen in fear. A push, a scream. A body tumbling. Martha covering her mouth. Henry's eyes wild. You saw nothing. Present. Martha's tears fell onto her hands. Please, she sobbed. Don't let my daughter pay for my silence. Upstairs, Lena stood at her bedroom window, staring at the city. Why do I feel like I married a stranger? She whispered to herself. Below, Adrian sat alone, staring at his watch. Protect the truth. His father's voice echoed in his head. Weak men lose everything. But Adrian was already losing control. Morning sunlight poured into the mansion, but it didn't warm anything. Lena sat at the long breakfast table alone, staring at plates of food she hadn't touched. Servants moved quietly around her, placing silver lids and lifting them again. And sure what to do with the new madam who looked more like one of them than their boss, she heard footsteps. Adrian entered, already dressed in a perfectly tailored suit. Good morning, she said softly. He nodded. I'll be late. That's not an answer, she replied gently. He paused. I have meetings. You always have meetings. Silence followed. She studied his face. Do you ever sleep? He hesitated. Why? You scream at night. His eyes darkened. You were listening. I couldn't help it, she said. You kept saying, don't tell them. Please, he stiffened. Flashback rushed in. Young Adrian kneeling beside his father's body on the bedroom floor. Poison bottle rolling away. Martha screaming. Sirens. Henry's lifeless eyes staring. I won't tell, Adrian whispered back then, shaking. I promise. Present. Adrian's jaw tightened. Dreams mean nothing. Sometimes they mean everything. Lena replied. He walked away. That afternoon, Lena wandered the garden, trying to clear her head. She paused near the old oak tree where she once hid during games as a child. Flashback. Little Adrian hiding beside her. They're fighting again, he whispered. It'll be okay, little Lena said, handing him a leaf shaped like a heart. Present. She smiled sadly. That was the first time she'd seen him cry. Foreshadowing thickened. Inside his office, Adrian met with a private investigator. You said you had proof, Adrian demanded. The man slid a file across the table. Your father paid off a witness, a maid. Her named Martha Parker, Adrian finished. The investigator raised his brows. You already know. What do you want? Adrian asked. Protection. The man smirked. People are digging. Your marriage made noise, so that's why you called, Adrian said coldly. Tick-tock, the man replied. Secrets rot. Adrian stared at the file. Flashback. Henry handing Martha a stack of money. You say nothing. Martha crying. There was a baby. Henry's face hardened. Not anymore. Double quotes present. Adrian clenched his fists. Back at the mansion, Martha watched Lena from the kitchen door. You look tired, Martha said. Marriage is strange, Lena admitted. He's not cruel, just empty. Martha swallowed. Some men bury pain so deep, it turns to ice. Lena studied her mother. You sound like you know him too well. Martha forced a smile. I raised him, but you're afraid of him, Lena whispered. Martha looked away. Foreshadowing burned. That night, Lena couldn't sleep. She walked toward Adrian's study. Light spilled from under the door. She hesitated, then knocked. What? His voice snapped. I just wanted to talk. He opened the door reluctantly. She saw him holding old photos. Who's that woman? Lena asked, pointing. He froze. That's none of your business. But she looks pregnant. He slammed the album shut. Go to your room. Her heart pounded. Adrian, what aren't you telling me? He stared at her torn. For a second, it looked like he might speak. Then his phone buzzed. And no number. The nanny won't live forever. Adrian's face drained of color. Lena noticed. What does that mean? She asked. He whispered nothing, but his eyes betrayed him. Some storms can't stay hidden forever. The next morning, the mansion felt heavier. Lena wandered through the grand halls trying to understand the man she was married to. Adrian Blackwood, cold billionaire CEO, moved through his home with calculated precision, his every step a reminder of power and control. Yet something had shifted. She saw it in the slight tremor of his hand as he poured coffee, in the tight line of his jaw as he read his morning briefings. "Are you okay?" she asked hesitantly, stopping at the doorway of the library where he sat alone. "I'm fine," he said, not looking up. "You're not," she persisted softly, stepping closer. "Last night, something happened." He paused, his fingers tightening around his mug. "That's none of your concern." Her eyes narrowed. "Maybe not. But I married you, remember? Doesn't that count for something?" He let out a humorless laugh. "Married doesn't mean trusted." Flashback, Adrian at 14, standing over his father's lifeless body, clutching his small fists as sirens wailed outside. His world had ended in an instant. The man who should have protected him had died, and Adrian learned the first rule of survival: hide everything, trust no one, love nothing. Martha had held him that night, whispering promises he now realized had shaped him more than he wanted to admit. Present. Lena took a careful step forward. "You can't carry everything alone, Adrian. Secrets, they weigh people down." He looked at her, expression unreadable. "Some secrets bury themselves." A soft knock interrupted them. Adrian's assistant stepped in, holding a file. "Sir, the investigator called again. He says someone is digging into your father's past. They're asking questions about Martha Parker." And Adrian grabbed the file, slamming it onto the desk. "I told you." No interruptions. The assistant retreated. Silence filled the room. Foreshadowing settled like a storm cloud. Adrian's eyes lingered on a photograph on the wall, a younger Martha holding him like a child, both of them smiling, oblivious to the future horrors that would come. Flashback. Martha had seen Henry Blackwood push a pregnant maid down the staircase. She had promised to never reveal it. That night, she had made young Adrian promise he would protect the secret. "It's heavy, but we survived," she whispered. "No one can know." Present. Adrian's mind raced. If anyone uncovered the truth, everything he built would crumble. His empire, his reputation, the careful fortress of his life. Lena studied him quietly. "You married me to protect something," she said, voice trembling. His eyes darkened. "You wouldn't understand. Try me," she pressed. "I've grown up here. I know whispers. I know shadows. I know what fear looks like." He froze, as if startled by her words. For a fleeting moment, he considered telling her everything. The truth of his father, the posts, the secret she and her mother had kept all these years. But the phone rang. A known number. Adrian's hand shook slightly as he answered. "Your nanny won't live forever. Make your move, or everything dies with her." He dropped the phone, his face drained of color. Lena's heart pounded as she realized the depth of what she had married into. The cold billionaire had married her, not just to protect his reputation, but to protect something far darker. And now, that darkness was closing in faster than either of them could prepare for. The mansion was quiet that evening, but the tension was electric. Lena couldn't eat. She sat in the grand dining room, fingers tracing the delicate china, wondering what she had really stepped into. Across from her, Adrian remained motionless, a glass of dark whiskey in hand, the reflection of the chandelier glinting in his sharp eyes. He hadn't looked at her once since dinner began. "You've been distant," Lena finally said, her voice low but steady. "What are you hiding?" Adrian's eyes flicked toward her, narrowing. "You wouldn't understand. Even if I told you, it would change nothing." "Try me," she insisted. "I know you're not heartless. I saw you last night. You care. More than you let anyone see." He clenched his jaw. Flashback. A 15-year-old Adrian standing over the body of a woman, her red-stained dress torn, the floor slippery with her blood. Martha had held him that night, whispering through tears, "Promise me you'll protect him. Promise me, no one can know." Present. Adrian's fists tightened around the glass. "You married me," Lena continued, her eyes searching his. "Was it love?" He laughed, sharp and bitter. "Love? Don't be naive. I married you because it was necessary. To protect a secret buried 15 years ago. A secret that could destroy everything, including you. Her heart skipped. She remembered glimpses from her childhood, Martha whispering, the locked doors, the red-stained rug. Hints she never understood. Foreshadowing she had dismissed as imagination. Necessary. She whispered, "You married me to protect a secret." Yes, he admitted quietly, almost reluctantly. And now, someone is coming for it. Flashback. Adrian as a young man, walking through his father's mansion. He found a hidden journal, detailing Henry Blackwood's affair with a maid and the child that followed. A child that had died before Adrian's birth. A truth his mother never revealed. He had memorized every word, every lie, every threat. That was the foundation of the ice game. The fortress around his heart. Present. Downstairs, Martha paced, clutching her old shawl. "God, let it not come back," she whispered, tears slipping down her cheeks. "I've done everything to protect them. Everything." Lena, unaware, wandered into the hallway. Her eyes fell on the west wing door, still locked and untouched. Her fingers brushed the keyhole. Flashback. 7-year-old Lena peeking through the door, seeing a flash of red, a body falling, her mother screaming. She had never forgotten the fear, the silence, the promise to never speak. Present. Adrian's single quotes as phone buzzed again in no number. Tick-tock, the message read. His eyes darkened. Rage, fear, determination. He gritted his teeth. This was no longer just about protecting a secret. It was about survival. He turned to Lena, his voice low and sharp. "Whatever happens, stay close to me. Do not leave my side." She hesitated, looking into his eyes. Something conflicted stirred inside her. Was it fear, sympathy, or the first faint trace of trust? Adrian poured another glass of whiskey, staring into it as if trying to see the past, the present, and the danger lurking in the future. His empire, his life, his carefully constructed Ice King persona, everything teetered on the edge. Lena's gaze lingered on him, sensing the weight of the world pressing on his shoulders. Behind the billionaire's cold exterior was a man chained to a promise, haunted by blood, and facing an enemy who knew more than he ever anticipated. Foreshadowing thickened. The night was long, and nothing would remain hidden for long. The mansion itself seemed to hold its breath, as if waiting for the storm to arrive. The wedding was a spectacle the city would never forget. White roses lined the mansion gardens, silk ribbons fluttered in the wind, and cameras clicked relentlessly as reporters shouted questions that no one dared answer. Adrian Blackwood, the cold billionaire CEO, stood at the altar, expression as unyielding as marble. Beside him, Lena Parker, the nanny's daughter, wore a simple gown that belied the storm raging inside her. No one knew why he had married her. Everyone assumed it was a fairy tale, a billionaire falling for a poor girl. But behind Adrian's icy composure, fear and calculation clashed. Behind Lena's hesitant smile was confusion and an unsettling sense of déjà vu. "Do you truly want this?" Lena whispered as the officiant cleared his throat. Adrian's jaw tightened. "I want to survive." His voice was quiet but firm, almost mechanical. The world thought it was love. It was far from it. Flashback. 15 years earlier, Adrian had uncovered a secret his father had buried. A maid. A child. A crime so dark it could shatter bloodlines and empires. Martha had kept the secret, but now she was older, frail, and Adrian feared the past might finally claw its way out. Marrying Lena wasn't about passion. It was about protection. Martha stood at the edge of the crowd, hands trembling. She gripped a handkerchief so tight it whitened her knuckles. "Promise me," she whispered to Lena before the ceremony. "If anything happens to me, protect yourself. Do not trust him completely." Lena looked at her mother, startled. "Mom, what do you mean?" Martha shook her head, swallowing hard. "Someday, you'll understand. Just trust me." Adrian's assistant handed him a folded note. He glanced at it, eyes narrowing. Unknown handwriting, unfamiliar ink. "The nanny's daughter knows more than she should. Act fast." He shoved it into his pocket, foreshadowing tightened like a noose. The ceremony continued. Adrian's vows were calm, measured. "I promise to protect and provide," he said, carefully avoiding words that could hint at the truth he carried. Lena repeated hers, sincere but hesitant. The crowd erupted in applause, cameras flashing like lightning. Flashback. Young Lena running barefoot through these same gardens. laughing with little Adrian, unaware that life would twist them both into roles neither understood. Her laughter then had been innocent, light. Now it was heavy with expectation. After the ceremony, guests clinked glasses, congratulating the new couple. Lena's smile never reached her eyes. Adrian, stoic as ever, caught sight of the gardener's child, a small boy staring at them curiously. Something about the boy's gaze reminded him of long-forgotten warnings and old promises. Later, in private, Lena unfolded the layers of her gown and faced Adrian. "Why me?" she asked. Her voice trembled, barely audible over the soft music. He avoided her eyes. "Because you were the only one who could." He stopped, realizing how close he was to speaking truths he had buried for years. Flashback. Henry Blackwood pushing a woman down the stairs. Martha screaming. Young Adrian hiding. The blood, the lies. Thin spoken vow to keep everything secret. Every memory pressed into him like a chain. Lena noticed the hesitation. Because of the past. Adrian's eyes flickered. He wanted to lie. He wanted to protect her, to keep her blind to the full horror. But his heart, long frozen, thumped unevenly, betraying the man beneath the billionaire facade. That night, after the guests had left, Martha whispered from the hallway, "I've done everything I could. Now it's on you both." Lena's pulse quickened. Adrian remained in the study, staring at old photographs, the weight of decades pressing down. The marriage was public, the world watching, but the real battle had only just begun. Foreshadowing settled heavy in the air. The wedding was not an end, but the prelude to a storm neither of them could escape. The morning after the wedding, the mansion was eerily silent. Sunlight spilled over the polished floors, glinting off the crystal chandeliers, but it did nothing to warm the atmosphere. Lena wandered through the hallways, feeling both the weight of luxury and the suffocating sense of being trapped. She had become the Ice King's bride, yet she still felt like a visitor in a world that had always excluded her. Adrian entered the library without knocking, carrying his ever-present leather-bound notebook. "We need to talk," he said, voice low, urgent. "There are things you don't understand, things that could ruin everything." Lena looked up, trying to hide the flicker of fear. "Start talking." Then, he hesitated. Flashback. 15-year-old Adrian digging through his father's desk, discovering letters, payments, and threats. His father had hidden crimes so calculated that even the family lawyers had been unaware. The realization had made young Adrian vow, "I will protect this secret at any cost." Reason: the marriage. It wasn't for love, he admitted, finally. His eyes darkened. It was to protect a secret buried 15 years ago. "Your mother, my mother, even my father, everyone involved in it is at risk if it comes out." Lena froze. A secret. Her mind raced through memories, the locked West Wing, the red-stained rug, whispered warnings from her mother. "Yes," Adrian continued, voice low and tense. "My father. He wasn't the man anyone thought he was. He did things. Terrible things. Things that could destroy lives, including yours." Flashback. Martha kneeling by young Adrian, pressing a small hand against his chest. "Protect the truth," she whispered. "No one can ever know." Adrian had clutched her hand tightly, the weight of the promise sinking into his bones. Present. Lena's hands shook slightly. "So, you married me because of the past, to keep me safe." He nodded, jaw tight. "To keep you alive, to keep my empire intact, and to keep the world from finding out what my father really did." Foreshadowing. The soft chime from his phone startled them both. A known number. Text: "She knows more than she should. Move carefully." Adrian's eyes narrowed. Lena's brow furrowed. Who was that?" He didn't answer. The weight of the mansion, the legacy of blood and power, pressed down like a physical force. Flashback. Henry Blackwood at the top of the stairs, Martha screaming as a young maid tumbled down. Adrian hidden, tears streaming. That single night had forged the man he had become, cold, calculating, and touchable. Present. Adrian finally spoke, softer now. "You may hate me for this. You may never forgive me. But I did what I had to do." Lena studied him, her emotions a storm: confusion, fear, empathy, and a growing realization that the man beside her was more than the world believed. He was a survivor, shaped by tragedy, chained to promises, haunted by shadows. She took a deep breath. "Then teach me," she whispered. "Show me what I need to know to survive this with you." He hesitated, then nodded once. For the first time, there was a trace of vulnerability in his ice-cold eyes. Martha watched silently from the hallway, unseen. Her hands were trembling. "God protect them both," she whispered. "Let this not destroy them before it's even begun." Foreshadowing lingered in every corner. The mansion, the empire, the secrets all were threads in a web that was closing fast. And neither Lena nor Adrian could escape it. Night had fallen over the mansion, but the lights burned bright as if to fight off the darkness that had settled inside. Lena couldn't sleep. She wandered through the corridors, heels clicking softly against the marble floors, stopping at the grand staircase where shadows danced like memories. Her eyes fell on the locked west wing door, always mysterious, always forbidden. Flashback. 7-year-old Lena had peeked through that same door. Inside, a crimson stain on the rug glimmered in the dim light. She had screamed, but Martha's hand covered her mouth. "Never speak of this," Martha whispered. "Promise me, or lives will be ruined." Young Lena had nodded, trembling, never forgetting the fear. "Prison?" Lena touched the cold doorknob, hesitation clawing at her. The memory of her mother's warning mixed with the unease growing inside her. Why had Adrian married her? Why had Martha allowed it? Footsteps echoed behind her. Adrian appeared, sharp in a tailored black suit, eyes sharper than ever. "You shouldn't be here," he said, voice low but commanding. "I couldn't sleep," Lena admitted, her gaze shifting to the locked door. "And I can't stop thinking about why you married me." He stepped closer, his presence overwhelming. "I married you because I had to protect something," he said quietly. "A secret my father buried. Something dangerous. If it comes out, it could destroy everything." Flashback. 15 years ago, Adrian had stood over his father's old ledger, discovering payments to a maid and hush money envelopes that hid crimes no one else had seen. Martha's hands had gripped his shoulders. "You must protect this," she had whispered. "No one can know. Not even your mother." Prison. Lena's heart raced. So, this marriage, it was about the past. About your father. "Yes," Adrian admitted, tension cracking his stoic facade. "And now, someone knows. Someone who wants the secret exposed, and they're coming for it." Foreshadowing hung thick in the air. Adrian's phone buzzed. A known number. A message. She knows. "Move fast, or all ends." He clenched his jaw. Lena's eyes widened. "She? Who?" Adrian's expression darkened. "Someone who knows more than we ever thought. Someone who could destroy everything if we fail." Flashback. Martha had held him that night, whispering over the body of the maid who had fallen down the stairs. "Protect the truth, Adrian. Keep it buried. Your life depends on it." He had clutched her hand, the weight of the promise anchoring him, shaping the ice king he had become. Present. Lena's hand brushed against his arm. "Then let me help you. I may not know everything yet, but I can learn. I can be part of this." He hesitated, a flicker of vulnerability crossing his features. The Ice King, for the first time, considered letting someone into his fortress of secrets. Martha watched silently from a distant hallway, eyes wide, heart pounding. "God help them," she whispered. "They are about to step into a storm bigger than either of them can imagine." Adrian's voice was barely audible, more to himself than anyone else. "If they find out, all of it, every lie, every hidden truth, it will destroy everything I built." Lena looked up at him, sensing both the weight of his world and the man behind the cold mask. Her resolve hardened. Whatever the past held, she wouldn't leave him alone. Foreshadowing lingered in the shadows. Thick as night, the secret, the danger, and the storm were closer than ever. The mansion was silent except for the distant hum of city lights. Lena sat on the edge of her bed, the wedding gown she had worn still pressed neatly in the closet. Her hands trembled slightly as she replayed the last weeks in her mind, the whispers, the hidden messages, the cold distance of a husband she barely understood. She had entered a fairy tale marriage, but the palace walls were built on secrets and shadows. Adrian's footsteps echoed in the hallway. He stopped at her door, pausing before speaking. "We need to leave," he said quietly. "Tonight." "Leave? Where?" Lena asked, heart pounding. "Some truths are coming for us," he replied. "The past doesn't wait. I've protected it this long. But someone has found a thread, and they will pull everything apart if we stay." Flashback. Young Adrian had watched his father's empire crumble the day Henry died. Relatives fighting over inheritance. Lawyers digging. The same chaos had been waiting in the wings all his life. Never trust anyone. Never show weakness. Martha's hand had been there to steady him, her whispered promise a lifeline. Present. Lena's eyes widened. The secret. Is it about my mother? He shook his head. It's about all of us. The lies, the blood, the deals Henry made to protect himself, and the people he hurt to cover it. Your mother kept part of it hidden. So did I, and now it's unraveling. Foreshadowing settled like a storm cloud. The mansion itself seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the chaos to descend. Then we face it together, Lena said firmly. I may not know everything, but I will not leave you. Adrian studied her, his icy mask cracking for the first time. He remembered all the nights alone in this mansion, haunted by nightmares and whispers of betrayal. He had built walls so high that no one could climb them, but here she was, fearless, stepping closer to the truth instead of away. Flashback. Martha standing in the kitchen, young Lena by her side, whispering warnings. Promises can save or destroy lives. Be careful, child. Present. Adrian nodded slowly. Very well, he said, voice tight with restraint. But if we fail, we won't, Lena interrupted. Whatever it is, we face it together. The tension outside the walls of the mansion was palpable. Somewhere in the city, someone was moving against them, a shadow threatening to expose the buried past. Adrian's phone buzzed again. A known number. A single text. The game has begun. Protect her, or lose everything. He turned to Lena, expression unreadable, then softened slightly. I don't know if I can fully protect you, but I won't stop trying. She reached for his hand, and for a moment, the Ice King and the nanny's daughter were just two people caught in a storm too large to control. Foreshadowing wove through the room, the locked West Wing, the hidden documents, the unfinished promises. They were all pieces of a puzzle no one had solved. And the clock was ticking. Martha watched from the shadows, tears in her eyes. May God protect them both, she whispered. The truth is coming, and only together can they survive it. Adrian and Lena left the mansion that night, stepping into the city lights, into uncertainty, into danger, but also into a fragile trust. The cold billionaire and the nanny's daughter were no longer just a spectacle for the world to admire. They were partners in a fight for survival, bound by secrets, blood, and the promise of truth. And somewhere in the shadows, the enemy waited, ready to strike. The secret behind the marriage, the one that would blow the world's mind, was no longer just hidden. It was alive. And it was coming. The story concludes with all the foreshadowing, layered flashbacks, and backstories anchored, setting up suspense and emotional payoff while keeping the audience hooked for what comes next. If you want, I can now combine all 10 scenes into a fully polished, cinematic 5,000-word narrative ready for YouTube storytelling with pacing cues, cliffhangers, and suspense beats built in for maximum retention.